And I think we're recording. I don't see anywhere that shows we're recording. There we go. We are recording. All right. So thank you for joining. And today's session, let's go back here one step. Today's session is working with sellers. I am Jim Heisler. I'm the CEO here at the Heartland Realtor Organization. I've been doing real estate for about 25 years, almost 24 plus. And 6 of that was as a real estate agent. So I was a real estate agent for a franchise, working the Libertyville, Mundelein, Vernon Hills area. It was my sole source of income. And I was not married. So it was sell homes or go hungry. And I've got stories we won't have time for today on my motivation. I think we covered that in the buyer class anyway. So with that, let's jump right in because we are going to run out of time. I'm going to try to keep this to 75 minutes. Typically, this is an hour and a half long. And I did add a few extra things. So who knows where we're going to end up. Again, if you have questions, we welcome you to use the chat box to do so. So with that, why take listings? Well, there's of course the obvious reason of if you're only working the buyer agent side, then you're missing half of the deals. And I would argue, and I think it's fairly true, that the listing agents control the commission, whereas the buyer's agents get what is offered. That's sort of true. I mean, yes, we could put an asterisk down there, and we covered last week a little bit about buyers and how to negotiate your commission. So maybe it's not fully true, but it is true for the most part that the listing agent controls the commission. They're the one working with the seller, discussing the commission rates that are offered. And for at least the most part, you don't have a lot of negotiating room. So where would you want to be? You want to be in the listing side, right? Of course. Why take listings? You need to decide if listing properties is right for you and when to be ready to start going after listings. So let me be clear here. Not every agent wants to list properties. Not every agent enjoys listing properties, and that's fine. There's no problem with that. Back in my office in my day many years ago, Keith in our office was really a buyer's agent. He did take a few listings for family, friends, and other people, but his primary focus was on working with buyers, which was great for me and Debbie, because what we would do is we would take the buyers that we had extras of or weren't interested in or for whatever reason didn't want to work with and trade them to Keith, basically offer them to him, and then when he had a listing that wasn't in his wheelhouse, so to speak, he'd give those to us. So it was a great partnership between the three of us that we could take care of our clients, our needs, and do the part of the business that we like best. I liked listing property a little bit more than the buyer side. I'd say about 60% of my business was selling and 40% was the buy side. Sooner you get started, the sooner you'll be successful. If you're only working buyers, only working half the business. True or not true, maybe. Looking at NAR research. So NAR has a document called the Home Buyers and Sellers Guide. It's typically $50 ballpark for you to get a copy of it. Heartland does have a copy of it here in our library. I can't provide you one because it's copyright information, so NAR is selling it. I can't give it to you for free, but you can check it out of our library for a 3-week period, look it over, and then bring it back. And this guy has produced NAR, Heartland's Library, okay? So here's some examples of what's in there. Exhibit 7.3, so I pulled this out of that booklet. Number of agents contacted before selecting one to assist with the sale of the home. So the question is, are sellers really shopping agents? Are they really calling multiples? So how many of them contacted just one agent? 75%. 3/4 of the time, it's yours to screw up. So don't screw it up. How often? 13% of the time, they're calling in a second agent. 8% of the time, 3 agents, 2%, 1 agent, 5 or more, 1%. What's the point? It's probably yours to lose, right? It's your listing to get. So go in there, be smart, and it's yours for the most part. There are, of course, sometimes when you want to walk away from listing. We're not going to talk about that part today. Exhibit 7.7 talks about what sellers want most from real estate agents. So why would you want to get this document from NAR? What kind of information is in there? These are the kinds of things I think are most important for you to know. If you want to be a listing agent, this is something you need to know. You need to know, why does a seller choose an agent? What's important to them? You know, sometimes people might think it's because they want to, the seller needs to know what their home is worth. Probably not always it. So 20% of the time, help the seller market the home to buyers. Help the price home competitively, 20%. So but roughly those are similar ideas. So pricing the home in the area of about 40%, even though if you add these all up, it's not 100, I don't think. Help sell with specific time frame, 19%. So help selling it. Help fund a buyer, 14%. Help I think it's find, help find a buyer, 14%. Help seller prepare a home for sale, 14%, which I find interesting. So they're calling you in because they need your expertise in what's wrong with their home. So my cousin lives in West Virginia. He called me up last week and said, hey, I'm looking to put my house. He's got a rental property. Looking to put a rental property in the market. What do I need? And I said, you need a realtor. And I gave him the name of some people he should be calling down there because I don't work that market. I don't know that market. But he was looking to see what work needs to be done in the home. He recognized the siding on the house is in some disrepair. And, you know, I talked with him briefly about first appearances and first impressions and appearances, and of course, get the home ready. So preparing a home for sale is a big reason why people are reaching out. Help with negotiations. Help with paperwork, inspection, and closing, 4% of the time. Help sellers see homes to purchase. I thought that was an interesting one. Now, granted, it's only 2% of the time, but some sellers are needing that listing agent to help them find the next property. And we're hearing here in McHenry County, that's a major, significant impact right now on our marketplace. A lot of our sellers are saying to their listing agent, I'm not going to list my home for sale until I know what I'm going to buy. And so what has that done? It's given us that domino effect, that catch-22 of they're not going to put their home on for someone else to buy to free up the market until they find one, but that, you know, it's a big dominoes. Help create and post video tours, 1%. So that's important. And I would also add into that probably photography. So just think about, should you take your own pictures or not? We don't even talk about that today, but we covered it last week. You probably should not be taking your own pictures. We covered it 2 weeks ago on marketing. You should probably not be taking your own pictures. You should probably be hiring a photographer to get that taken care of. And I think this is the last one, Exhibit 8.14, most difficult task for sale by owner sellers. How about that one? So if you want to work for sale by owners, and you do, getting the price right is only 17% of the time. I think most agents think that's the #1 thing they need to help a for sale by owner with. It's only 17%. Understanding and completing the paperwork, 12%. Fixing up the home, 8%. Selling within the time frame, 5%. Attracting potential buyers, 4%. Not enough time to sell the home on their own, 3%. Helping buyers financing. So you can see there, nope, nothing, don't need an agent, 49% of the time. So do you think they really don't need an agent, or do you think they just think they don't need an agent? Do you think maybe they had a bad experience with another agent and therefore they want to do this on their own because they know better, they can do it better? If they had a bad experience, they might be able to do it better. Let's be honest. But the reality is, as we know, I think it's on one of these slides here, it's likely that if a for sale by owner hires an agent, pays the commissions to both buyer and seller side, they're still likely to walk away with more money at closing than if they did it themselves, right? And you know the reason, because they discount their house when they put it on, and then the buyer comes in and wants to further discount the house because it's for sale by owner. So they're double discounting their home and ending up in a lesser financial position, according to surveys, more often than not. So anyway, for sale by owners. Who to work with, what you need to do to list property. So think about the question in your mind should be, if you're just starting or just getting restarted maybe because of COVID, how do I get restarted my business? You need to ask yourself, almost the Kreskin, if I knew, who do you know that would let you list their home? Who do you know who would let you list their home? That's what you're trying to answer down here on the screen. So where do you want to work becomes the other question. Do you want to do a farm area? We talked about that 2 weeks ago in the marketing class. So farm areas, your own subdivision, your old subdivision, maybe where you grew up, lots of things like that. How do you get your name out? Again, we covered this in the marketing session 2 weeks ago. We spent an hour on that alone. But you need to think about what you're going to do to market yourself and how you're going to get people to call you. If I were going to get back into real estate, and I'm not going to, I love what I do here, but if I were going to get back into real estate today, I would absolutely be going after the parents of my children's friends. So my kids are 16 years old. We have twins. They're in high school. We know a lot of their friends' parents from the sports that we go to and the school plays and all those things that we attend. Those people are the ones I'd be going after for their business. And sometimes not even their business, but more importantly, their friend's business. It's not about that first degree of separation, but that second degree of separation. I think we covered working with family last week or the week before as well. I'm just going to touch on it briefly. I was not a big fan of working with family. I it took me a while to figure this out, so maybe I'm saving someone a few years of pain here, but I realized that family didn't want to hire me. And it wasn't because I wasn't good. It wasn't because they didn't trust me or any of that. They would be embarrassed about their financial situation and wouldn't want me to know their personal financials. So they may not want to work with you. So what I realized when I went to family parties and family reunions and graduations and all those things that are happen in life, when someone says, "Hey, how you doing in real estate?" The first wrong thing to say is, "Great, thanks for asking." Wrong. You should say, "It's going well, but I can always use a couple more deals. So if you know of someone, I'd really love the referral. If you can give me a name or two. Do you happen to know of anybody that's looking? Because I work this market a lot and I've got a few buyers looking to move here," or whatever. Twist that your way. But make it a friendly conversation, but engage the fact, tell them that you need some help. This is your family. These are people you know and love. They're gonna want to help you any way they can. So utilize that. I used to think I wanted their business, and that's not what I really wanted. I wanted their friend's business. So that's separate. MRED tools. Again, use MRED tools. Use and learn Remind. There are some heat maps in Remind. So we think of Remind, maybe you think of Remind as the tax database because it replaced Realist a little while ago. Yes, it is a tax database, but there's a whole lot more. I would say there's a whole nother side to it that you need to know about. So go online to MRED, use the webinars, the online tutorials, take a one-on-one training class, take the online training sessions, learn more about Remind. They can tell you who is ripe to sell, and they have heat maps in there that you can overlay on a grid. So if you want to work the Plymouth Farm subdivision, it'll tell you which homes are more likely than not to be ready to sell in the immediate future. How do they do that? They pick up lists of information of who's buying diapers, who's buying new flooring, curtain rods, whatever it is. Things that make it look like, so diapers, obviously they just had a child, and so are they outgrowing their condominium and they need to move to a house? So they know, they can use these heat maps to determine who is likely to be selling in the near future, wanting to sell. So obviously you want to call them ahead of calling people that just moved in, perhaps. Use the reverse prospecting tool. So if you have a listing already, you want to use the reverse prospecting. So if your listing has gotten a little stale, it's been on the market a little too long, and you're thinking, I need a little help here pushing this thing, you can use the reverse prospecting tool. What that does is when you use it, it will send out to the agents, the buyer's agents in the marketplace who have entered their clients into the MRED system, Dyna Connections, Connect MLS, who've entered their data about their clients. So their clients are receiving home information as new homes come on the market. What this does is it pushes to those agents, hey, I see in the system you have a client whose contact information, their desires meet my listing at 123 Main Street. It just reminds that agent that it's there. So it could be the call. And if you're a buyer's agent getting that email, it gives you a chance to call your buyer. Hey, you know what? We didn't look at this home before, but it's been around a little bit. Maybe we need to get out and take a look at it. So smart buyer's agent. Use the reverse prospecting tools. All right, listing presentations. So we go back and forth. I've asked sometimes when we've got some more experienced agents in the room for training classes, I'll ask them, so how do you do your listing presentations? Are they one stop or two stops? I always did one stop presentations. There were some agents who swear by two stops. They want to go out there first, they want to meet the clients, look at the house, maybe measure the house, take a couple pictures perhaps, then go home, do the research, then come back and do the listing presentation. That's not my approach. I would come out there one time, do the presentation, get it all done. Hopefully, I've been able to ask them on the phone ahead of time enough information to know how to do a good, solid CMA with respect to their property. You know, I mentioned Plymouth Farm subdivision. So that's a townhome subdivision in Vernon Hills. There's 3 models of homes in there. Or next to it is Westwood. Westwood has the aspen, the birch, and the cherry model. So if I'm on the phone with someone in Westwood, I'm gonna say, well, which model do you have? And they're gonna say, you know, aspen, birch, or cherry. Or maybe they don't know, and they're gonna say, well, I've got the 3-bedroom, you like the three bedroom split level? And they say, yes, great, you've got the cherry model. Wow, is that blowing them away that you know the names of the models? So get to know that information. But one stop or two, that's up to you. That's a personal decision. There are agents who do the 2 stops that swear by them. That's how they work, and it's very successful for them. Great. Do what works for you. Do what works for you. The other question I have for these agents that are selling real estate today, would you do your presentation, how do you do it, electronically or hard copy? We used to do it hard copy in my day. We had this big binder, about a 2-inch binder. We'd come in, we'd set it down, we'd turn it around upside down. So the next line here, know your documents, know the order of the documents in your listing presentation. And then for me and us back in my day with a binder, we had to know how to do it upside down because we'd take our presentation, the folder, open it up and turn it for them and give it to them. So I'm doing the whole thing with the book upside down to them. It was great. I had no problem with it. I knew exactly what page. I knew where to flip to. I had some tabs in there for overcoming objections, which we're going to get to in half an hour, 15 minutes. But electronic would work as well, and there's some benefits to electronic. It shows you're up with the current need. That means, you know, technologies are ongoing. It shows you might interact better with them if they're a technology kind of person. So there are reasons why electronic would work. I haven't seen a listing presentation on electronically. I would hope it has tabs that you're able to flip. So maybe it's a PDF with tabs, if you can use those, if you know how to use those. So you can flip to different areas. When we get to overcoming objections in a little bit, you're going to need to know where your certain things are. So I knew that the green tab was for monetary issues. I knew the blue tab was they want to change my listing from a 6-month to a 3-month or whatever. They want to shorten the listing period. So I had tabs for my different objections that they would have. And you need to know that in your mind of where am I going to go. So in your listing presentation, when you're doing electronically, you need to know where the electronic tabs are, which one for which objection that might come up. Know your scripts. I don't like the word scripts. We've been using that word for a long time. I changed it just recently to conversations. So know your conversations. A script to me sounds like you're trying to force them into something they don't want to do, where a conversation is having a conversation, helping them along. Your clients, these sellers in specific, have called you in because they want to sell their home. You haven't convinced them to sell their home when they didn't want to. You didn't drag them, you know, force yourself on them to get in there. They want to sell their home. There's some reason why, and you need to know what that is. You need to find out what their motivation is, and we're going to come back to that one in just a couple minutes. So also know that's a numbers game. I should probably say cold calling here, sorry. It's a numbers game. Find out what works for you. Do a lot of things, do a lot of different things. I think of it as like a shotgun approach to hitting, you know, buyers or sellers. You're gonna do a lot of different things. You're gonna shoot a shotgun. When you shoot a shotgun at a bird, it shoots a whole bunch of pellets out. Not just a rifle where it shoots one bullet, a whole bunch of pellets. And you don't know which pellet's gonna hit the bird in the air. So think of the client as your target. You're trying to hit that target. How do I hit it best? With the shotgun approach, a whole bunch of different things. So what is that for you? Lots of things. Just listed, just sold postcards. Send it to the entire neighborhood or don't. So think about if you're going to or not. These cost money. Is it worthwhile? Is it a good return on your investment to do that or not? Now, if I had a new listing in the Plymouth Farm subdivision, and that's an area that I worked a lot, which it was, then certainly I'm going to send a just listed, just sold postcard for that property to make sure everybody knows, hey, Jim just listed one here. He's been promoting every month to us. He's successful. Hey, he just sold one. Great for you. That's good. But what if I went across the street to the New Orleans, I forgot the name of that subdivision, New Orleans Place or something, and I got a listing over there? That's good, but I might not do a just sold postcard or just listed postcard if it's a one-off. If I'm not normally in that subdivision and I get one, maybe I don't, because I'm not sure. I would argue statistics are against a simple one-time postcard mailing is not likely to get a quick response. It could, it can, and there's probably agents going, oh, you're wrong, I do it all the time, it works. Fine, do what works for you. But think about where the return is on your dollar. Everything you do costs money. Your job is to maximize that dollar to get business back in. So if you spend one, you want 3 back in. I just made that up, so whatever the numbers are for you. Ask other agents, brokers, if you can send them off their listings. Absolutely. So if another agent in my office had gotten a listing in Plymouth Farm subdivision, I'd be calling them up instantly. Hey, it's Jim. Yeah, you know, I see you got a listing in Plymouth Farm subdivision. Do you mind if I do a mailing that says just listed? It has your name on it and my contact, or you want my name on there, right? Now, if I'm the listing agent, I'm going to say no. So let's be just really clear on that. But what if, like me, where if I got that listing over in the New Orleans Place, and another agent called me up and said, hey, from my office, call me and say, hey, Jim, I see you got one over. I've been farming that area. Do you mind if I do a just listed? I might say, no problem. How about this though? How about you give me a referral fee and anything that comes in off of that? Just a thought. If you're not going to do your own, why not let them? If it works for them and you're able to get a little something out of it, that's great, right? So just something to think about. Work your sphere of influence. So your sphere, we talked about a little bit, family, friends. Basically, I think of your sphere as your postcard, your Christmas card list. Who do you send Christmas cards to? I don't know if you send out Christmas cards. I happen to still like them. So I send them out. Who's on that list? Frankly, at home, my family, we've got about 120 people we send Christmas cards to. That's your sphere of influence. It's your family, friends, close people. Again, maybe the parents of my kids' friends, that few of them are on my Christmas card list now. That's your sphere. So think again, as we talked about earlier, are you going after their business directly or their indirect business, second and third tiers? So my aunt bought a home through another agent. My aunt was my mom's best friend. They're both gone at this point. That hurt me, but it was because she was a cashier at Jewel and didn't want me to know her financials. So she didn't work with me. But wouldn't that have been nice if she would have said, Jim, hey, look, I'm looking to buy a property. Can you refer me to another agent? She didn't know that was an option. She didn't know I would benefit from that. I did a bad job of explaining that to people. That was my fault, not her fault. So how are you going to do that? Explain that to your clients, your sphere of influence. Reach out to them. Cold calling. All right. Who likes cold calling? Nobody. I want to come back to that one in a second. All right. So I guess we should switch some slides. Conversations. Feeling like you're too new. Let's cover too new for a minute. So first, I would tell you, don't make them ask you. That happens too often where when I was brand new, I got my real estate license. I wasn't even 30 years old. So I'd go on a listing appointment and I was a young kid. And some of these older people would look at me and just go, okay, I'm not, you know, this isn't the guy for me in their mind. But you know what I found? Nobody ever asked me how new I was in real estate unless I brought them. I led them to the question. And that was always by me saying something like, oh, when I worked at the restaurant, or oh, when I worked at the bank, the only two jobs I had prior to real estate. When I said that, I could almost like see the words coming out and I want to grab the words, but too late, they're already out. And then you know the next question. As soon as I say, oh, when I worked at the restaurant, they're going to say, oh, how long have you been in real estate? So you're leading to that question. So some of you, this might not be your first or second job or third job as it was for me. You may have had other careers or long-term careers. You may not be a youngster like I was when I started this business. So maybe you're not going to have that same question or concern. But if you're brand new to real estate, it's still an obstacle for you. And I would argue, if you don't lead them to the question, they're likely not going to ask them. You have to put into your brain, your mindset, your vocabulary, your vernacular is the word I was looking for, the fact that you've been in real estate your entire life. If you work that way, you believe that way, you act that way, they're not going to ask you how long you've been in real estate. So, all right, so first, don't make them ask you. Covered that well enough. You need to believe it doesn't matter, and it truly doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. So should they ask you, you lead them to the question, they ask you, you might come back with a couple of options here. Granted, I'm fairly new in real estate, but I've spent years in customer service, and that's really what real estate is all about. Property is just a product that we sell. Or, sure, I'm new to the XYZ firm, but I've got great mentors and a full support team behind me. Most importantly, I'm eager and committed to you. Let's get the papers ready. Closing. We're going to talk, the very last slide today is close, close, close. You got to keep closing. Don't let this be an obstacle. If you think it's a problem, then it's a problem. If you don't think it's a problem, it's not a problem. All right, cold calling. Nobody likes cold calling. I should lean in. Nobody likes cold calling. But it was very successful for us and for me. So again, about 60% of my business was listings, and cold calling was a major part of that, especially in the early years, especially when I was trying to get started in real estate into that side of doing, you know, that side of the business, which was immediately, by the way. So do you want to leave messages or talk to them? That's the question. So differing views. My unofficial partner in real estate, Anna, sat right behind me. We had exactly different, opposite, opposing views of this. She loved talking to people. I love getting voicemail. Here's why. So we're going to get to her first. So she is Polish, still is Polish, still doing real estate and doing very well and very successful. She would call up and I'd hear her talking. So we had an appointment every Tuesday and Thursday at 10 o'clock. We had to come in the office to cold call together. Accountability partner, you need it. So that's the bottom part here. You need a buddy. You won't do this alone. So you need an accountability partner. You make a commitment and you both get at it and you do it. So I'd hear her behind me talking away in Polish. And then she'd end up the phone call, 15, 20-minute phone call, really, with the public, right? I'm thinking she's on the phone with the family, and she'll end up saying kocham się at the end. Kocham się means I love you. So I'm thinking she's talking to her husband, her mom, her aunt, you know, family. And so I get off the phone and she gets off and I give her that look like, what are you doing? We're supposed to be cold calling. She's like, I just got an appointment. I said, well, with who? And she's like, I'm calling my list. So what Anna would do is Anna would look down the list of names in the cold calling, which you can pick up the list through the government website, telemarketing, donotcall.gov/telemarketing. donotcall.gov/telemarketing. You go there, you can get list of people's names of where you can call, and it's already pre-scrubbed with the do not call, so you're good there. But with do not call, if you're on the phone and someone says to you, hey, please put me in your do not call list, your company has to also have its own private do not call list, which you need to add these people to and affirmatively remove them from any list. So if you're cold calling, make sure you understand that. Call me later, we'll talk about that privately. So she'd go down the list of names and she'd look for the skis, you know, Hubert Sharumsky and, you know, Pulaski and, you know, whatever. Any Polish looking name, that's who she was calling. And then she gets on the phone and she wants to talk to them. She wants them to pick up and have those Polish conversations, and then she can talk herself into a listing appointment. She's very good at it. She's still very good at it. Me, no, I have no accent. I'm just this gringo, right? So I would call down the list. I would go, and I always start at the bottom and work my way up, thinking if anybody else is cold calling, and not that anybody is, but if anybody else is cold calling, they start at the top, they get about 5 phone calls in and they quit. So people at the bottom list, they never get called, right? So I'd start at the bottom of the list and work my way up. Who would I call? My farm area. So I'm calling Westwood, I'm calling Plymouth Farm subdivision, making sure they know that I'm in real estate, I'm a real person, I'm local, and I want to work with them. A great touch point. So cold calling works. We did it 10 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It was a huge part of our business, again, especially early in our business and our careers when we're trying to get things going. A little later, 3, 4, and 5 years into your career, now you start to get referral business, you get repeat business, people start to buy homes that you've already helped. Then it starts to roll a little bit that snowball downhill. But in the beginning, you got to work your butt off. So this is what I would say. Hi, this is Jim Heiser. I'm with XYZ Real Estate here in Crystal Lake. Do you hear how my voice went a little bit higher? Excited? You got to act. You got to do a little bit of, you know, pretending here. Hey, it's Jim Heiser here at XYZ Real Estate in Crystal Lake. I wonder if you can do me a favor. See, my office has a buyer that's looking for a home in your area, and say it. So my office has a buyer looking for a home in the Plymouth Farm subdivision, but they haven't found one that they like yet. So I'm wondering if you know of someone who might be looking to sell, or you yourself. Afterthought, you yourself. Oh my gosh. Maybe you've thought of it. It's an afterthought, right? You've got to act. Of course, it's exactly why you're calling these people. You don't care as much about the friends. You're hoping they want to sell, but make it an afterthought. So I'm hoping you know of someone who might be looking to sell, or maybe you yourself, you've thought about selling. If you think of someone, please give me a call. Here's my phone number. That's it, short and sweet. Takes less than 30 seconds. What is that? 12 seconds probably, short and sweet. I said at the beginning, I'm wondering if you can do me a favor. So let's start out here. Jim Heiser, XYZ Real Estate. Okay, they've heard of XYZ. It's a large enough company. Even if yours is small, it doesn't matter. Jim Heiser, XYZ, here's the key, in Crystal Lake. Obviously, if I'm calling in Vernon Hills, you tell them where your office is from, and hopefully you're calling from a local office is the point. So when I was doing it, I worked in Mundelein. So hey, XYZ here in Mundelein. Wonder if you can do me a favor. Why would I add this in? This is key. Don't take this out, because everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to help somebody out. If I called you up and say, hey, you know, it's Jim over the association, wonder if you can do me a favor. You're going to listen to me for another 5 or 10 seconds before you decide, can I help him or not help him? Now, it depends on what I ask you, right? If I ask you for a big favor, hey, can you loan me $5,000? Well, now, hold on a second here. I don't know, Jim, we can do $5,000, right? But you're listening. You're going to give me that extra 3, 4, 5 seconds. That's what you're doing right here. You need to ask them, hey, wonder if you can do me a favor. Oh, he wants a favor. Yeah, because everybody wants to help somebody else. So don't skip that line. You see, my office has a buyer looking for a home in the Plymouth Farms subdivision. That's key, because now they know, hey, they live in Plymouth Farms, I'm calling Plymouth Farms. That's pretty good. Now, back in my day, 20 years ago, selling real estate, that was pretty good technology to be able to know where somebody lived. Now, today, you know, you should be able to do this really easily. But this says, I know where you live. I'm not just randomly calling everybody in the phone book. I'm calling specifically Plymouth Farms. I need your listing. But we haven't been able to find them a home yet that they like. I'm wondering if you know of someone who might be looking to sell a home, or if you yourself might be interested. If you can think of someone, please give me a call. Here's my number. You know what I found most amazing about this? Is people would call me back and say, hey, you know, we're not interested in selling, but did you know about that one down the street? Because I asked them for a favor. They wanted to do that favor, and so they're calling back to tell me about a listing. Yes, I already knew about that listing, right? But then every once in a while you get the call back of, hey, you know, we're not sure when we want to move, but we're thinking about a little bit, you know, we got your voicemail, we get your business cards in the mail, you know, what do you think about our property? What's it worth? And then of course you come back to, what do you always say? Whenever somebody's, I don't even think I have a slide on this today. So if anytime someone asks you to do your listing presentation over the phone, what do you say to them? This is a Floyd Wickman thing. So he's a national trainer. Floyd Wickman would tell you, gee, I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together. Gee, I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together. So somebody says, hey, that's great. So you're cold calling, you get that question, or better yet, you're calling a for sale by owner, or you're calling an expired. This works perfectly. Perfectly. Write this down. Hope you're listening. We are recording this, but this is worth everything, all your time today. They call you up, you call them up, and they say, yeah, you know, we've been thinking maybe we are going to list with an agent after all. You know, what do you charge? What do I charge? Gee, I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together. Oh, well, how long is your term for your contract? Gee, I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together. Well, what kind of marketing do you do? Gee, I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together. Anything they ask you, gee, I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together. Those are the same kinds of things, but you need to frame this differently. So, you know, I'm not quite sure. I really need to come over and take a look at your property, see what you've got going on there. You know, there are a number of other properties in the marketplace for sale in the Plymouth Farm subdivision right now. We've got a bunch of those 2 bedrooms that aren't moving too well. The 3 bedrooms upstairs are doing great. So which one do you have? Oh, you've got the cherry model. That's wonderful. However, I need to come over, see the condition of your home, see what I might need, if anything. Oh, I know you say it's everything is perfect condition, and I'm sure it is. I still need to take a quick look at it, and then we can sit down. I can bring you a market analysis and we can discuss all this. Would you be available tonight? So that let's get together. Would you be available tonight at 2 o'clock, or 5 o'clock, or would tomorrow at 2 o'clock be better? Pin them down specifically to an exact time and day. Don't say, is tonight good or is tomorrow night better? No, 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 no. Is 5 o'clock tonight or 2 o'clock better? If it's a for sale by owner and you say, hey, I'd like to stop by at 2 o'clock tomorrow, and they say, well, I'm at work tomorrow, we got another script for you on that. All right, so short and sweet, going in for the kill. Drawbacks, I might tell you about other current listings. If you call in the evenings, you might interrupt their dinner. So, you know, Anna would like to speak to people, and that's great. I would like to leave the voicemails and get the return calls back. I think that when people get the voice messages, they check those at their convenience. They're gonna do it when they have 2 or 3 minutes, or 5 or 10 or half an hour, versus in the middle of dinner to check it. If I call and I catch them in the middle of dinner, they're probably not gonna be as warm and welcoming, even though they might be a hot lead and I just caught them at the wrong time. So there's drawbacks. I'm not telling you what the right answer is, because every situation is different, but cold calling is important and can be a huge value. But again, as I said back here, you need a buddy. You will not do this alone. I'm not sure you're gonna do it at all, but this is a way to put dollars in your pocket. I'm not kidding you. All right, objections. What about, so I showed you a slide earlier that 75% are only interviewing one agent, but there are times when people are interviewing other agents. So how about this one? They say to you, yeah, well, I have a couple other agents to talk with. So you're on the listing appointment and they have some comment to, I'm gonna speak to some other agents. What you need to say back to them, something along these lines. These are just conversations that you need to have. So, well, how long do you think that might take? You see, I'm concerned for you that you're going to be missing valuable market time. Is there something you think another agent might be able to do for you that we haven't discussed? Frankly, you need to get your home on the market immediately. Let's show you the paperwork so we can get started. See that last closing line? You gotta hook them. You've gotta go in and ask them for the commitment. Over and over and over, if that's what it takes. Ask them for the commitment. The very first thing you need to do, and I'm trying to think if I got a slide on this or not, so I might have one coming up. You need to take their temperature. You need to find out, I'm really sure I do have a slide, but I'm gonna do it anyway. You need to take their temperature. You need to find out what their hot point is. Why are they looking to sell? That's key. They want to move, sell their homes and get down to the Florida sun and down to working with their, to see their granddaughter being born. That's important. Okay, your granddaughter's going to be born. When is that happening? Oh, that's happening in August. Well, this is June already. I mean, just in theory, if we sold your house yesterday, which clearly can't happen, and we have a 45 to 60-day closing period, you'd be late if we started now. So if you've got a few other agents to talk with, my concern for you is you're missing valuable market time. You don't have time to talk to other agents in order to make your goals happen. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? That's a hook. You got to use these hooks. Fair enough. Sound good? What do you think? They're just little questions. You don't need an answer. It just gets them thinking. So throw in these little hooks at the end, these little question hooks. Sound good? Fair enough? What do you think? And then let us sit for a second. Like I think of, there's a show on TV where they fish for shrimp or crab or something. They throw the pot in the ocean with some bait, and they have to let it sit at the bottom of the ocean for like, I don't know, weeks or days or something for the crabs to come over. I think of this the same thing. Sometimes silence is great. You just hit them with the question and you shut up for a minute, not a minute, 3 seconds, 5 seconds. Let it soak, let it sink in. Let them feel that pressure for a moment. All right, moving on. Much better in a live class where I can get your feedback. Will you do it? Will you be able to do it for less? So you're at the table, because again, if they ask you this on the phone, what's your answer? Gee, I don't know. I haven't seen your house yet. Let's get together. Again, you don't say those words. You reframe that, but those are the 3 points you need to make to get into their house for a listing presentation. You're not going to get them to sign a listing presentation over the phone, so don't do your listing presentation over the phone, right? Good. Of course, today with COVID, maybe you are, who knows? But will you be able to do it for less? Simply, this is the one I use 95% of the time. No, I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that. Flat out, just no, I'm not, that's it. The husband, the wife, they'll look at each other. Usually it's the husband who's asking, just not being, not being biased here, but that's typically what happened. So he'll say it, you say no, she'll give him the dirty look, and onward you go. Don't dwell on that. Don't sit, don't let that question soak too long, because now he's already in trouble with her. So you don't want that tension to build. So no, I'm not able to do that. That's the simplest, the easiest, the best, works most of the time. If that doesn't work, I've got a whole bunch of other answers for you, because this is likely the biggest question you're going to get, right? No, our company policy. So be careful though, if it's not really your company policy, then you can't say this. You cannot lie to them. So at our company, small company, there were probably 15 agents, maybe 20 at any given time. There were 5, 6, 7 of us who were allowed to negotiate our commission because our broker knew we weren't going to give away too much. We'd do what we needed to do to get the deal, but we weren't going to give away the store, so to speak. Then there was a middle group that they can't go past this number. So whatever it was, you can negotiate to this, but nothing else. Then there was the bottom group. They couldn't negotiate. This is what the company policy is, period. So for those people, this answer would work. They're on the listing appointment and they're not allowed to negotiate. They could simply say, no, unfortunately, I'm not able to. Our company policy is simply that, and here's what our fee is, and blah, blah, blah. That's it. Look them straight in the eye, just like I'm looking you straight in the eye. Say it to them with conviction, with passion. Don't smile, don't laugh, don't look away and blink and get all nervous. Just be clear with it and be confident in your answer, and those are going to work. Those 2 are enough right there. If you don't like those 2, let me give you a couple more. You can see I got 3 more slides still. If your boss came to you today and asked you to work for less money, would you? How would you feel about that? Because that's kind of what's happening here today. That's one, not my favorite one. Again, you probably don't have to get past this first one. How about this one? Let me explain it this way. As we discussed, half of that commission that we just talked about is going to the buyer's agent off the top. Of the remainder, my office takes a portion. We're going to do some marketing, advertising, a lot of other things to get your home sold. And I get a little bit that's left over, so I'm just not able to do that. See my head nodding? That's another sales technique for you. If you want them to agree with you, just nod your head like I'm doing now. If you want them to say no, then say no. No, I'm just not able to do that. Subconsciously, subliminally, whatever the word is, they have to go along with you. whatever, I'll make up a stat, 75% of the time, they're gonna go along with you simply because of your body language. So, or take that same one and do a little bit extra to it. So will you be able to take the listing for less money? You know, somebody else promised us they could do it for a whole percent less or 3% less or whatever the number is. Doesn't matter what the numbers are. So same explanation, but here's what you have to do. You have to do a little acting. I did this one time. It wasn't terribly comfortable for me. It's effective. It's visually effective. So here, so when they say, well, can you do it for less? You're like, well, hang on a second here. All right, well, we talked about a commission of 5%. Let me see if I've got this. And you pull your wallet out and you check. Let me see if I've got this. Now, you already know if you've got this or not. You want 5 $1 bills in your wallet. So you pull your wallet, oh, good, 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 I do. You pull the 5 $1 bills out, you put your wallet away. See, as we talked about, half of this is gonna go to the other agent to convince them to bring a buyer through to your home. So you take $2.50, $2.50, rip a dollar bill in half right in front of them. They're thinking in their minds, oh my God, this guy's crazy, he's ripping money on us. But you've got their attention, right? They're paying attention to you. $2.50, you put that down the table, and now you're holding up $2.50. You hold $1. See, my office gets their portion, you put that one down. Hold up the other dollar. We're gonna do marketing, sales, advertising, and a whole bunch of things to get your property sold. That costs us money too. Now you're holding up a $0.50. So this is all that's left and you want me to negotiate this? I'm just not able to do that. Really effective, but a little too acting for me, a little too, not planned so much, but a little too over the top. So I did it one time, it was effective. We got these, you know, I got the listing at the price I wanted, the commission I wanted, but again, a little more challenging. All right, so stick with that dollar bill answer or any of those. What if the seller is adamant and they want to pay less for it? If you still want to take the listing, and that's often a question because, you know, if this was a for sale by owner, if this wasn't expired, maybe they're the problem. Maybe that's why the home didn't sell. Maybe they had an offer or two, but they're so difficult they couldn't get, you know, you couldn't get it negotiated. So it could be possible. I'm not saying it is possible. It could be possible that they are the problem. So just keep that in mind. I did walk away from a couple of listings. I didn't feel we worked, you know, we had the right rapport going on. I didn't like their answers. It just wasn't, you know what, let me refer you to another agent in my office. Referral fee, jing, 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 that works for me. Let somebody else deal with this. So Debbie came in, she sold the whole thing. She was happy as a clam. She was a, you know, great deal. I got a little referral fee. Of course, you disclose referral fees. You must disclose referral fees to your clients. Let them know, by the way, I'm gonna refer this to another agent in my office. I get a little tiny something. It's something that's normal in our marketplace in real estate. I know it's abnormal in the rest of the world, but something we do left and right and all the time. So normal for us, she's gonna come in, you're gonna get all the same services and probably more because I referred from another agent. So you do your whole little speech. All right, and you guys should be knowing these speeches way better than I do. Yes, I teach this class a couple of times a year, but you need to know these speeches inside and out and what you're gonna say and how you're gonna say them without having a script like I do, teleprompter sort of. You need to know these up, down, inside and out and be able to say them on the spot in the heat of the moment. So if you still wanna take the listing, assuming your office will let you take the listing for less, then ask them this: what part of the marketing program would you like us to leave off? You see, we just went through the marketing program, and I'm not sure which one of these items is going to be the one that hits the buyer. Because you think of a buyer as a bird flying by. We're going to shoot a shotgun at him. It's going to be full of pellets, right? Just like I told you. Shoot the pellets. One of those pellets is going to hit that bird and bring us the buyer. I'm not sure which pellet. And think of these marketing tools as pellets in the gun. If we leave one off, is that the one that was going to hit the bird, but because we didn't shoot it, we don't catch the bird? That's where I'm concerned for you. So if we pull back on the commission and I have to reduce our marketing budget, because you're not reducing your part, let's be clear. Do not reduce your part. Your time is valuable. You deserve what you get paid. Stop negotiating your own commission. So if which part of the commission, which part of the marketing are we going to leave off here? Put it to them that way. See what they come back with. Well, I don't know, but the other companies, is the other company going to do all these things, or what things are they leaving off? I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not here to talk bad about any other company, but if they're not doing everything, is their shotgun going to miss the bird? And are you going to be calling me in 2 months wondering if I can help you sell your home because they couldn't? I don't know. Be really careful in that. I'm not talking negatively about a company that I know. I'm talking negatively about some abstract company. I don't even want to know who my competition is. So be careful, because it is a violation of the code of ethics for you to talk disparagingly about another firm. In this case, I'm not talking about a firm, I'm talking about my competition. I don't even know who the competition is. So big difference there. All right. If we reduce the price of our house, will you reduce your commission? So you might hear that. I heard that once. That's an interesting thought. So you have to have this ready in your head, but kind of sit back, that's an interesting thought. But let me ask you this question. So now you lean back like you have to think about it, and now you lean in with your answer. Let me ask you this question. Has there ever been a time in your life when you had to accept something that was outside of your control? Because that's what's happening right now. The market is determining what the price is of your home, and that's truly out of my control. When your price goes down, so does my commission. So we're both in this together. Let's work together to get this property sold. So that's Donna Fleetwood. She's the author of Now What Do I Say? So great, great wording there. I love that. That's phenomenal. Again, I didn't need that a lot because that was rare. Somebody came up with asking the two things together. If the pricing was an issue, then we'll reduce your commission. Because the other side of that really is, well, that's really what I'm doing because I work on commission. So if we reduce the price of your home, I'm going to make less money. So automatically, when we take the price of your home and reduce that, I am working for less money. My commission is reduced. See how that ties together? That's what you say to them. See how that ties together? That's that hook. And then you let it sit for a second. All right, sales techniques. One other free sales technique, here you go. Use your pen. I think I covered this last week and the week before, but in case you weren't there, use your pen. This is huge and best at a listing appointment. So you've got the paperwork, you've got the documents in front of you. You need to have, and they're upside down for you because they're right side up for them. You're going to use your pen and point down at the paper, and you follow your eyes down at the paper to the paper when you're talking about something on the document. So here's the contract, here's what the first clause says, here's what the second clause says. Bring the pen back up right between the eyes, your eyes and their eyes, when you want to look at them. And there are times when you want to move them back and forth. Now, don't be crazy and make a little game of this, but use this for a sales technique. So bring them down, talk about the contract. Now, when you're done, you want to get ready to have them sign it. Bring their eyes back up with the pen. Their eyes will follow the pen, I promise you. And the other thing I'll teach you is hand them the pen. So I just need you to sign down here at the bottom, and now you're going to reach down and you're going to hand them the pen. They're going to take it. You have to take it. Whenever somebody hands you something like this, if you were live in a class, I'd do this for you, but we're not live, obviously. I'd hand you the pen. You're going to take the pen from me. We did this in new member orientation one time, I don't know, almost a year ago. And the guy was sitting there, and you could see him cross his arms like, I'm not going to take this pen from you, Jim. And I stood there with the pen. What do you think he did? He reached up and took it. He's laughing the whole time. He's like, you're right. I couldn't help it. You've got to take the pen. Hand them the pen. When it's time to sign, hand them the pen. Don't make them pick up their own. Hand them the pen. They will take it. Then you point down. You bring your hand down to the line when they need to sign. You point. I just need you to sign right here to get the ball rolling. Sound good? And you're looking down. Don't stare them in the eyes at this point. You're looking down at the document where you want them to sign. Give them a second to look at each other because they might need to make sure, are we really going forward with this? I don't know. Well, we weren't going to sign tonight, but now we're going to sign. Are we signing with this guy? I don't know. Is he any good? I don't know. That's all running through their mind, right? Give them a second. If there's a little moment there, you might even say to them, do you guys need a minute or two to talk about this? I'm happy to step in the other room for a minute if that would help you. That's great, because what are they going to say to that? They're going to likely say, more times than not, no, we're fine. We just want to make sure, we're on the same page. Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and get the ball rolling. Hey, I've got a sign in my car I can put up today, and we'll get the professional one put in next week, and a lockbox ready to put on your door if you're ready to go today. Now, if the house isn't ready, that's a different story. But that's just some stuff. That's how I worked. It worked well. All right, let's go to this one. I know I'm already running out of time, and I got a long way to go, and I'm already talking fast. We take a shorter term listing. I didn't have this one a whole lot. I had this one for a vacant property. I'd never taken a vacant land listing before. That's a whole nother story I don't have time for. Went in, told them it was gonna be a year-long contract. They both went, oh my God, a year-long contract. Why is it gonna be a year? And then I went back with, well, it's gonna take time to sell you to get the property going. It's vacant land. If there's a home on it, then that's a lot easier because people want to move into a home, but who wants to move into vacant land? So they have to build, there's a lot of things that have to happen. So I need a full year. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, can you do it for 6 months? So they started to get a little pressure on me for they really want to shorten it. And that's when I pulled this one out. Rarely did I need this one. So it's crossing the desert. And this is a Floyd Wickman idea. So let me ask you this. So you're at the conference, so you're here and you're the sellers. Let me ask you this. If you're going to cross the desert and you believe it's going to take you 5 hours to cross the desert, are you going to put 5 hours worth of gasoline in your car? You're going to fill the tank, right? That's what we're doing here. Just because the market analysis suggests it's going to take us 8 months to sell this property, I don't know for sure that it's going to be 8 months. It might be 12, and we don't want to fall short. So we're going to fill the tank, see the head, fill the tank. We're gonna fill the tank. We're gonna take a 12-month time frame here, have the property on the market for as long as we need it. And if we don't get it sold, so set them up already. If we don't get it sold in 12 months, we'll have another conversation. But at this point, I'm confident we're gonna be able to do it in 8 months. But even if we do get it under contract in 8 months, we're still gonna need a couple of months, especially with vacant land, for the buyer to do their due diligence to make sure that they've got everything they need, permits and all that stuff to build the house they want here. It's going to take longer. So we need 12 months. See, my head keeps shaking because I want you to say yes. Just keep doing this and they'll do it. So it's going to be 12 months, okay? Now don't be crazy about it like I'm doing now, but you get the point. You get those subtle head nods, it works. All right, so that's my crossing the desert. I'm sorry, that's Floyd Wickman's crossing the desert technique, which I love a lot. Can you list the home for a higher price? Again, you got to know their pain, you got to find their motivation. So that's where I normally talk about this. You have to know what it is, what the reason is. It might be, hey, we want to get our kids into the high school system and in a different high school. So we've lived here, but we want to live there and be in that high school. Great. At a higher price, are you willing to wait a little longer and move to your grandchild? Or at a higher price, you're willing to pack the kids up and get out of the house a little more frequently to see than showings? I don't even understand this one. Doesn't matter if you understand some of these. You just have to say it with conviction and keep going. And they're probably left in a wonder going, what did that have to do with this? Obviously, you're not lying to people, but you don't always have to be perfect is my point. Keep rolling with it. If you sound confident, it almost doesn't matter what you say is my point. Are you willing to wait an extra 2 months to get to the warm Florida sun? Hit him with that. Let it soak. Quiet. She's going to hit him. And they're going to sign the contract. I'd almost guarantee it. Almost guarantee it. All right. Can you list the home for a higher price? Draw a graph like this. So this is a tougher one, a little more challenging. I had to use this one time when the guy was very analytical. So so what you need to know, one of the things, if you have a lot of paper, right? When you're doing the listing, you're gonna have paper around, you need to have them sign listing agreement. You're gonna have, if you're using a DocuSign or some electronic and you have no paper, this is a little more challenging. But what you need to do is you need to know in your head which one of these forms has a blank backside of the paper that you don't really need. So this is just a statistics sheet. I don't really need this one. I can draw on the back, no harm, no foul, nobody cares. No one's gonna see it again. So pull out and you're gonna go, this sheet right here, you're gonna pull out the piece of paper, you're gonna grab a pencil, hopefully you have a pencil with you, pen works fine too. Excuse me. Ideally, you'd have 2 colors, but obviously if you walk in with a couple of colored pens, they're gonna know this is set up. And it's not going to go well. So you're going to need to do 1 color. I've got 2 on the screen so you can follow this a little easier. So you're going to draw the graph. So you're going to draw a graph. You're going to make some tick marks. I'm going to do this real quick for you down. Draw the graph, make some tick marks. Can't see my paper. Oh well, it's on the screen. Draw the graph and the tick marks. You can write the numbers on here or not, doesn't matter. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're sitting here today. We've got the market analysis. The market analysis shows that the property is worth $155,000. That's what the market's willing to pay for it. And here's the timeline of events. So So the longer the property sits in the market, the lower we get. That makes sense. Everybody understands that. That's just supply and demand, simple economics. You got it. You got it. See that again? You got it. That's the hook. The head nod, they can't argue with you. When you do that, you got them. So simple economics. Here's what you're suggesting. You want to list the property for $165. That's above market. I'm not saying no to that at this point, but let me just show you what happens here. This is simple studies that NAR, the National Association of Realtors, has hired outside firms to find this information, so it's unbiased. Here's what they have found. If you overprice your property, that's what we're looking at, just to be clear with you, because now you've offended them. Overpricing, you're thinking, oh, I didn't overprice it. I think it's really worth it. So if you slip up like I just did and say, if you overprice your property, because that's really what we're talking about here, you got to come in and I'll fix it. That's what we're talking about here. Just so they understand, like you get what you just said. We list it for $165. Here's what happens. Within the first couple of weeks, the property, the offers that come in are going to be substantially lower and lower, and they're going to drop down below what you could have gotten had we started at 155, which is what I'm suggesting. It's only way out here where you break back to the regular line and end up in the same place. And let me just be clear, when we get way out here on the timeline, These are probably not offers that are going to interest you anyway, just to be really clear. We're out here, 6 months from now, we're going to be having a whole different conversation about what we're doing with your house. So let's not worry about that. But here's the interesting thing. So only in the first week or two are you going to make a profit, are you going to benefit from this elevated price for your home. The market analysis says 155. If you want to go 165, that's a different story. But are you willing to risk taking a lower amount in a time frame to sell? Our CMA is saying it's going to take us 39 days to sell the property. 39 days puts us way out here. You're going to be below where you would have been had we priced it at the 155 I'm suggesting to you today. Are you willing to take that gamble? Because again, if we sell this in the first week or two, we're all happy. You've made more money. Frankly, I make more commission, so we're all happy. I want to sell your home for as much as you want to sell your home for. My wife wants me to sell your home for as much as possible. Let me just be clear, right? Say those things. It's fun. It shows them you're into it. And I just stole from another slide too. But the longer the property is on the market, the lower the price received, how long you want to wait, but much more importantly, how much will it cost you? So that's a really good conversation to have. Or how about this one? Keep one thing in mind here. The more money you sell your home for, the more money I make. Trust me, my spouse wants me to sell your home as quickly as possible for the most money as well. I'm as motivated as you are, but don't think the higher price is the best situation for you. So again, tweak that like I did with you to your own style. And it's going to tweak every time you tell it, but just get the facts in there. Can you list a home for a higher price? If you still want to take the listing, and again, sometimes there's a problem, I'm willing to take the listing at a higher price, but if after 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever time frame it is you suggest here, if after a certain number of amount of time, we haven't received any offers, we'd be willing to lower your price to 145. So instead of the 165 he wants, and I'm suggesting 155, we'd be willing to go to 145. So it's below now, right? And they're gonna be like, well, wait, no. If we don't sell this in 2 or 3 weeks, we'll come to the 155. And you're gonna come back and say, with your chart, you're gonna point to it, you can't see it, but you're gonna point to and say, we're already below. We gotta get back to that black line, not on the red line. So we gotta get over there to where it should have been to start with. So at 2 or 3 weeks, we need to reduce it to 145. They'll want to lower it to what you suggested. All right, covered all that. So you could even ask them to pre-sign a price reduction form. I caution you to do that. I don't think that's the best way to go. It's not wrong, but you could find yourself in a little bit of trouble if they forget they've signed it and then you submit that and you lower the price and now they don't remember that they agreed to it and they file a complaint with IDFPR or the association office or something. It gets a little sticky wicket there. So be cautiously careful. But you might have them pre-sign it and just call them ahead of time. Hey, it's Jim. Yeah, 3 weeks. We talked about 3 weeks. We're going to reduce the price. I've got the signed form. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send it back to you. I want you to redate it with today's date, please. All right? Go ahead and get that signed and sent back to me. That would be a great way to go. That's kind of best practice. So, all right. We want to list with a friend. Oh, my favorite one. That comes up every so often. I understand. Who's your friend? And that's important, but not critically important. But it's nice to know if they're a top gun, if they're a big seller, or if they're a no-name, or who they are. And it might be a good selling agent, a good agent. You just don't know them. I mean, we've got 1,100 in Heartland alone, and I don't know all 1,100. I know most of them, but not quite 1,100. Sure, and your loyalty to your friend is admirable. I'm curious, so nice and slow pace. This is long, and it's long for a reason to get to one main sentence. So you're burying the important sentence followed by another one at the very end in this. So it doesn't have to be these words, but get in there. Sure, and your loyalty to your friend is admirable. I'm curious, why did you have me come over if you're going to list with him or her? Find the weakness. Oh, they're busy, they don't have time, I haven't talked to them in a long time. Whatever the thing is, it kind of doesn't matter. Well, as a professional, this concerns me. And actually, I'm concerned for you and your family. Most people have the bulk of their net worth tied up in their home. So don't you owe it to your family to get the best agent that's right for you? And see, I can't even stop myself. I'm nodding my head right here just talking to you. I think we've got some great rapport going here, and I'd love to work with you, and I think we'd be great for each other. I've got the time that other agent doesn't have for you. Or I've got the experience they don't have, or I've got the whatever it is that they were weak in, that you need in an agent. Don't you think you owe it to yourself and your family to hire me? Besides, if I'm not successful, you can fire me without ruining your friendship. Should I go ahead and get the paperwork going? That last one's the hook. The previous one, besides, if I'm not successful, you can fire me without ruining a friendship. That's the one that needs to soak. Oh, crows. If I hire my best friend and they're unsuccessful and I need to fire them, what's that going to do to our friendship? Oh yeah, that's serious. Plant that in their head. So you're doing a lot of conversation up front, which is all meaningful, to nail them with that one there. All right. All right, we're almost done. So lots more things online. You should watch this video Floyd Wickman has. It's a great video. Let's see here. Basically, I don't know if I can get this to come up, but basically it's Floyd Wickman. He's this guy from Detroit. He's a little slick. He can say on listing appointments things that I don't think I could get away with. He's slick. He's kind of funny. He's kind of, nonchalant kind of guy, just kind of out there doing it. But he goes through like 18 of his different objection handling techniques. He throws them all together into one sentence and he wraps it up. And there's one thing that you're gonna like about Floyd is he doesn't push. And that's what I want you to realize. These are objections. You're not forcing them into something they don't want to do. You didn't force your way into their house to make them list it. You're not holding them captive. You're working with them to meet their goals. They want to move to the warm Florida sun. They want to go see the granddaughter being born. They want to get in the new school system. They have goals. They're just scared because this is a huge transaction. Moving their family is emotional. It's stressful. It's everything, right? You need to just help them be comfortable with it. And most importantly, help them be comfortable that you can do this for them and get them through this process. So there's lots more things online to look at. Go find Floyd Wickman. He's pretty good. And then to wrap it up, close. This is the most important slide, maybe, perhaps. You've got to go for the close. You've got to use those little hooks. You've got to use the head nods. You've got to use the pen and pencil and have it go up and down so people are following along. Close 3 times. When that's not enough, close again. Keep closing till they kick you out of the house. I mean, almost seriously. Just keep at it. If they haven't asked you to leave, if you haven't got enough clues that it's over and you're done and that's it, then stick with it. You might even come back with make up your own. Is there something else that we can do here? Is there something you're looking for an agent in an agent that we haven't discussed yet? What's the magic thing here? Because I really like who you are. You got a beautiful home here. I'm confident in my soul that I can sell this for you and that we'll both be happy. It'd be good for me, obviously it'd be very good for you. What is it? Is there something else that's keeping you from signing those papers today? Silence. Let it sit. Let it soak. Let them think about it. At this point, you almost don't say a word until they do. It's almost like who blinks first loses, right? Just let them sit on it. I'd really love to work with you. What will it take? What's the piece that's missing here? And then there are a couple of things we're going to talk about in 2 weeks, right? And what's the date? June 24th. We're going to have advanced real estate techniques. And we're going to talk about a couple of things you can do to close that deal when you're at that point and you haven't got it, but you really want it. A couple extra little pieces. So that probably won't be an hour long, but come back on June 24th. With that, I'm going to stop the recording and the sharing and recording. Stop.